For how long will you measure yourself by the fleeting applause of the crowd, by the plastic trophies, by the comfort of a life where everything is going exactly as planned? This is the central illusion of the weak mind, the myth of success. Most men look at the world and see only the surface. The titles, the bank balance, the polished facade of achievement, and they call this success. This is merely the stage set. It is not the actual work, nor is it the true measure of the man. True strength is not measured in victory, but in ruins. It is not found when the ship is sailing smoothly under blue skies, but when the hull is breached, the mast is broken, and the storm is tearing your world apart. This is the hard truth you must accept. Your true self is revealed not in moments of ease, but in the crucible of absolute failure. Think about the test of betrayal. When you are suddenly abandoned by those you trusted, when a partnership shatters, when you stand at the bottom of a financial hole, that is when the mask drops. Your immediate, visceral reaction to this rock bottom dictates your future success or failure. Do you crumble into victimhood, or do you stand firm, a stone against the tide, already charting the course for the return? The crisis is the ultimate assessment, the moment your training is tested without mercy. If you believe your problems will eventually stop, you are living a fantasy. The inevitably battle is a perpetual state. Problems do not end, they merely change their configuration. The struggle against mediocrity and the external world is eternal, and it is necessary. This relentless pressure is vital. It is the friction required to forge clarity, and it is the only way for life to be what it truly is, a continuous war against your own weakness. Embrace this truth, or remain forever soft. If you are still licking your wounds from the collapse, if you are still measuring your suffering by the depth of the hole you are in, you have learned nothing. You are a hostage, not a warrior. The problems will keep repeating themselves until you understand this simple, brutal truth. You will never overcome great problems unless you learn to reframe them. This mental act, this conscious shift in perspective, is the first and only essential step to progress, because it strips the problem of the emotional power you granted. Your suffering is not an objective fact, it is a subjective problem. Every crisis, every betrayal, every financial loss in your life is subjective, because you are the one who creates its meaning. The rock itself is neutral. Your emotional state is the fuel that permits the devastating significance you assign to it. A situation is only a tragedy because you choose to feel it as one. It is time to stop confusing the event with your interpretation of the event. Consider the car crash paradox. Two vehicles collide. One man curses the universe, allowing the setback to ruin his entire day, his week, his life, becoming a bitter victim chained to a minor setback. The other steps out, checks the damage, and immediately celebrates that his life is intact, that he has a story, that he has a clear road ahead of him, seeing a different perspective in the exact same moment. Which man are you? The one who is ruled by the inconvenience, or the one who is liberated by the intactness of his spirit? The emotional coward finds tragedy, the warrior finds opportunity. This is the law of compensation. Every genuinely horrific situation, every perceived setback, carries within it a benefit of equal or greater proportion. You may not see the silver dividend now, in the fog of your present pain, but in the long run, the universal equation always balances. Your current wound is simply the down payment on a necessary future strength you do not yet possess. Refuse to be a victim, and the problem loses its sword. Reframing is not merely a philosophical trick. It is a violent act of forced introspection, a necessary moment of brutal honesty with yourself that cuts through the fog of self-pity. When the world collapses, you are given an opportunity, a demanding test to see if you are truly dedicated to the way or merely to the idea of comfort. There is no other path to clarity, for without this self-confrontation, your suffering is merely wasted energy, a weakness you willingly carry. When facing a major difficulty, a severe setback that seems to mock your best efforts, you must stop the emotional landslide and engage in the discipline of asking the three questions. Ask yourself, why am I truly going through this, deep down, past the surface-level reasons? Next, demand of yourself, what do I need to learn from this failure, this betrayal, this loss, right now, that I have avoided until today? Finally, confront the core of your fear and ask, is this truly the end, or is something overwhelmingly good coming from this situation, something that requires this brutal sacrifice? These questions are the warrior's self-audit. They force you to shift your focus from passive complaint to active learning. The internal cost of surrender is far greater than the external cost of the problem itself. When you are a hostage to your emotions, when your stress, your sadness, or your self-pity dictates your actions, you are simply a victim, willingly giving your power to external circumstances. The cost of stress is the death of your lucidity. The only way out of this emotional captivity is to deliberately look at the situation from a different, rational angle. Your mind must perform a surgical separation between the facts of the event and the overwhelming sensation of pain. Musashi understood this deeply. His concept of the void teaches that clarity comes only when the mind is unclouded by bewilderment or personal desires. Your deepest, most debilitating pain is often the densest cloud you must violently clear away just to see the true configuration of the problem. Stop feeding the emotional chaos. Use the fire of hardship for forced introspection. The failure is not the lesson. The clarity it forces upon you is the true weapon you gain. The true test of the warrior's mind is not how quickly he solves a problem, but how wisely he chooses which problems to fight. You have achieved brutal introspection, you have separated the event from the emotion, and now you stand at the precipice of the hardest decision. Is this battle worth the blood you must spill? Not every problem you face in life is meant to be solved. Some conflicts, some grudges, some injustices are simply too costly to resolve, whether intellectually, financially, or emotionally. You must understand the high price of fighting. There are issues in life that are far more expensive to fight and resolve than they are to simply transcend. You must develop the surgical discernment to know which battles deserve your energy and which deserve to be utterly forgotten, abandoned like a burned bridge, because the pursuit of resolution will only deplete the strength you need for a higher purpose. A fool fights every skirmish. The master only fights the war that matters. Now, look at the cruel mirror of your life. How many situations repeat themselves? The same toxic relationship dynamic, the same business failure, the same pattern of sudden financial loss. It happens once, twice, 5 times, and you pretend it is a string of bad luck. This is the repetitive pattern, and it is not fate. It is the absolute confirmation of a broken internal paradigm, a fundamental flaw in your mind's operating system that you confirm with every repeated mistake. The loss itself is a messenger, not the message. Perhaps you just suffered a massive, debilitating loss. Maybe you lost a 6-figure sum. This loss did not happen so that you could spend years resolving the conflict, hiring lawyers, chasing the ghost of the money. It happened for a singular reason. The purpose of loss is so that, in the future, you would not lose 10 times that amount. Transcendence is the act of immediately learning the brutal, expensive lesson and breaking the pattern, even if it means accepting the current loss with cold, rational finality. You must sacrifice the desire for immediate recovery to guarantee a future immune to that specific weakness. The way demands you stop being a victim of your patterns and start using the lessons they provide. You have already confronted the nature of your ruins. You have begun the process of reframing them and discerning which must be transcended. But all of this is useless if you do not possess a brutal confidence in the process, an unwavering faith in time itself. Confidence is built not by immediate results, but by trusting the long-term process, even when the present is shrouded in fog. Your impatience is the greatest weakness of your spirit, for it demands immediate reward, instant relief, and condemns you to repeat the cycle of mediocrity. This is precisely why you are a victim of the repetitive pattern. You live under the tyranny of the now. The crisis that engulfs you in this moment appears total and final because your vision is imprisoned by the present fog. You cannot see the advantage because you lack the crystal ball, the gift of seeing the future. Understand this. The long-term teacher is the greatest master that exists. When you are in the deepest thicket of crisis, unable to breathe, with the pain demanding all your attention, you must remember that 10 years from now, this moment will be nothing more than a necessary paragraph in your story of ascent. The clarity you seek is not about solving today's fire. It is about the purity of your intention and the absolute conviction of where you are going. Clarity and purity of purpose is what separates the warrior from the common man. You must comprehend, with the harshness of a sword blow, that the process now is the destination later. The discipline you exercise today, the acceptance of loss, the reframing of pain, is not just a means to an end. It is the end itself. It is the state of being you are deliberately building. Musashi teaches us to achieve the unwavering mind. When you master the way of strategy, you can suddenly make your body like a rock. 10,000 things cannot touch you because the problem is not external. It is inside your reaction. The greatest test is not to fight the external enemy, but to remain firm, utilizing reframing and transcendence, regardless of how brutal the moment feels. The long term is your battlefield and your only true ally. You have been shown the brutal geometry of your inner war, recognizing the ruins, reframing the pain, and choosing transcendence over costly resolution. Now, this philosophy must leave the mental battlefield and become the blood in your veins, the automatic function of your existence. Your daily task is not to solve every obstacle that crosses your path, but to correctly identify the nature of the challenge before you commit energy to it. A man who swings his sword blindly wastes his life. A warrior chooses the target. This is the warrior's choice. Every major problem, every recurring setback you face, must be subjected to a cold, rational weighing. Does this problem truly deserve to be solved, absorbing my vital resources, or should it be transcended, forcing me to absorb the lesson and leave the corpse behind? Most of what you call problems are merely necessary tuition fees for lessons you refuse to learn the first time. You need a hard mechanism to break the cycle. This is the simple practice, the pattern audit. For the next 7 days, you will not try to fix anything. You will keep a cold, merciless record of every recurring problem or setback you face. Do not solve them. Just identify the pattern. Are you dealing with the wrong people repeatedly, attracting the same type of dishonest partner, or making the same emotionally driven investments? Stop the reaction. Just observe the ghost of the pattern. Then, in the silence of your introspection, ask the core question: what pattern must I violently break here to avoid a greater, more devastating loss in the future? This is the discipline. The refusal to fight the small battles so you can win the eternal war against your own flawed programming. The eternal principle is the ultimate reassurance for the warrior. If you maintain absolute clarity of intention and trust the process of transcendence, the long term always wins. The reward is inevitable, but only if you stop fighting the ghosts of yesterday. The greatest ruin you will ever face is not a financial loss or a betrayal, but the internal collapse of a mind that chooses victimhood over the warrior's way. You have been given the compass. Recognize the test, reframe the meaning, transcend the unnecessary fight, and trust the long-term clarity. Take the pattern audit with you. Begin the work. Discipline will make you unrecognizable. If this confrontation with your own weakness has resonated with the warrior spirit inside you, then subscribe to this channel now. Give this video a like and state your commitment in the comments below. We do not seek comfort here. We seek the brutal, beautiful way of mastery.